June 26, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. Kind of had this, had this spike, sideways consolidation, two legs up. Looks like a third leg, sell off, another kind of a push up. And overall, it felt like it was inside this bigger trend channel, but I didn't really trust it as a channel. So I had this red trend line support drawn first, and then I later turned into a channel. But the high side of the channel doesn't really come into effect or matter all that much. So I was mostly looking for any bounces to go long off this red channel. And then it kind of toward the last, I guess, 90 minutes, it went into another sideways consolidation. This is making pretty much new highs in the ES. That's never, hasn't happened in a while. There was a big sell-off in April. And so there were a few more setups today than pretty much this whole week. And I would say the trading was a little more, there was more stuff happening with better setups. The volume, though, wasn't really that much more. So I did take two trades and was profitable on both. And then I identified a few other setups, like this asterisk ones, I thought was actually a pretty decent setup, as well as this one. And the only economic data that came out today was at 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here. See if I can get my cursor. Yeah, right about here is the final GDP number, unemployment claims, and a few other things came out around 5:30 Pacific Standard. And then nothing else really came up that moved the market. No crazy news from, I guess, the Middle East. Everything's just a little quiet today. So I'm going to get into the trades right now. Pre-market, there's kind of this bounce. It rallies on this green up channel, breaks, tests the high of the green, kind of sells off, makes a second attempt. So this is the first break of the green. The NinjaTrader has kind of shifted it from what I initially had. Kind of fit like this, a little bit better. Break, test the high, made it extreme, test the high again. This is sideways consolidation. I'm thinking this could be some kind of trading range high early in the morning. And then sells off. There's technically a first entry long here and a second entry long, but I saw this one big leg break, makes one attempt down, then it kind of makes a second attempt, then it starts on the open. So on the open, it's just very sideways, very choppy. Yes, it makes a new high here, but in real time, this is what I'm seeing. I'm thinking I'm stuck in a range right now. New high, first entry long. Technically, I have a second entry long here. You could say it's a triple test, but it's a bad signal bar. Follow through trigger bar looks pretty good. Okay, so that was a quick phone call I had to take. So I'm thinking price action right now is in this sideways consolidation. There's a second entry long here, maybe a triple test, but it's a wrong signal bar. So as prices keep unfolding, it looks like it's in this tight range because it's actually only about 5 points, which I'm trying to scalp for 2. And then later in the day, I figured out that I should only really be scalping for 1 on a day like this. Flushes down, has a failed breakout here. It's kind of like a new high here. It's a first entry long. Pull back. This failed breakout looks like it's continuing. This red trend line doesn't exist yet. So it looks like it's first entry, second entry, nothing really here. Pushes up and now has a breakout here and it's making a corresponding breakout here. So I'm watching carefully. Phone call. Okay, so prices are moving up. Creates a symmetrical failed breakout on this side. Pushes and it creates this setup here, which I actually think is a possible setup, but I didn't recognize it in real time fast enough. So it's a new low. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Technically, you could potentially have a lower high here. And it's also a new high, first entry long, second entry long. So then it flushes down. That's kind of right about when I recognize there's potential setup. So it's too late for this trade, but I think in real time, this looks pretty good because this is the pre-market high. The failed breakout of the pre-market high is not really a range or not really a reliable range, but you could say maybe there's a range kind of developing something along these lines. So it could be a range. It's a failed breakout. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Okay. So by the time this forms, now I'm too concerned that it's getting too close to this EMA, but there was a first entry, second entry failure, new low, first entry short, second entry short, lower high. So I actually thought this might have been a decent setup. Prices then continue moving. It creates a visual first entry long pullback, second entry long visual, because technically you have a first entry, second entry is made right here. So I saw a second entry visual. I don't have this yellow up channel drawn yet, but I did see this breakout of this green up channel. So it looks like it was breaking, kind of created another symmetrical break here. Decent setup. it is a bounce off the EMA, and this is only a 7-tick signal bar. And I noticed throughout the day, a lot of the signal bars on a little bit more riskier trade setups were less than 2 points. So those might have been just worth taking a risk. Plus the stop would just go, in this case, just right below here. So it either works or it doesn't work. In which case, if I did enter on this one, I would have gotten entry here, and this would have been a good fill. So this is actually where I do take my first trade. I will admit it's a little riskier. So it's a visual first entry, pullback, second entry, creates this higher low. This higher low, I'll admit it's a little riskier because I was looking for a potential continuation to test the high of this. And so I see this as like new low. It's only a first entry, but it's a higher low confirmation of the second entry, visual second entry long. As soon as it broke above this, because I noticed it had trouble breaking through, this is an inside bar, came down, effectively touched the EMA, pushed up. When it broke up, that's when I entered the trade. And it was kind of near the end of this life of this candle, but it closed back down below. It kind of moved sideways. So then I did have to sit through this because this, if you look at the timestamp, is 37:16 Pacific Standard, then 7:18, then 7:20, and finally flushes up. And I was debating to move it down to just a quick 1 point scalp because 2 points does push it outside this localized high. But I just kind of hung out and held for it. And then this ends up being kind of, see if I can, there was like a failed second entry short here because there was like kind of like a 4 test here. Prices are increasing in strength. This was a bounce point off a trend line, which I turned into a channel. It's a little off right now. So when I saw this, I got more confident to hold my trade for at least 2 points. Then it flushes up. I was able to get the quick 2 points. So it starts consolidating. At this point, the ATR, the average true range of this whole price action, is dropping quickly and holding below 2. Even right now, in the after hours is below 2. So I was thinking, okay, well, going for 2 points might be a little risky. So prices continue moving up, breaks out of this orange up channel, creates a new high. It's a first entry long, pullback. I'm looking for a second entry long because it's a first entry here, looking for a second entry. This is inside bar, so I'm not thinking this is a good setup. Pushes down, breaks below the EMA, bounces off this potential yellow trend line support, possible second entry long. Excuse me. Then it pushes up. So it looks like it's a break of this green down channel. And actually, another phone call. Hey, quite a few phone calls today. There's a bounce off the EMA. Okay, so I think I said that there was a bounce off this yellow up channel, and I like that. So there's a possible trade here of a good signal bar. And again, this guy is only 7 ticks, so it might have been worth a risk. And in a case like this, there's 2 legs down. The most obvious place to put the stop would be 1 tick below here. It'd be the same thing of this thing, just 1 tick below here, just because it's kind of like this is the localized low. It looks like it's starting to reverse. So this type of setup is low risk, worth a shot, but I didn't take the shot. Then prices continue moving up. And then this actually sets up for my second trade. It creates a higher low here. Now I'm going to admit this one is a little bit more aggressive. It is confirming the second entry long because I saw it as a visual first entry, pullback, second entry, even though there's a little bit of choppiness here, inside bar here. Definitely a low here, pushes up, and it looks like a higher low, enough room to the EMA, but this one is a little more aggressive. It's a break of this orange up channel. I'm expecting a test of the high, and this one already broke, so it looks like it might be one attempt. This could be a second attempt, but it's a little muddied by the overshoot on this side. But taking all that into consideration, this is also a 7-tick bar. So I entered it. I sat through this waiting for 2 points. So then actually after sitting through this, because if you look at the timestamp, it's 7:54, 7:55, 7:58, 8 o'clock. So this is kind of like about sitting here through 6 minutes, and this is kind of meandering. So I decided to move my profit target from 8 ticks to down to 6 ticks. Now I was able to get out because I was starting to debate when I started to see this starting to reverse, whether this was actually a good setup or not. And I'll admit this isn't probably the best setup. So I try to compensate by moving from 8-tick target to 6-tick target. And it would have worked. Even for the 8-tick target, it would have worked, but it would have put me a little closer to the highs. And prices continue moving up. Kind of creates a new high, first entry long. At this point, I'm trusting, or I'm feeling pretty strongly that this yellow up channel support, the support side at least, is pretty reliable. So now I'm looking for any reason to go long when it comes back down to here. And it's not super reliable on the high side because it's only one touch, two touch, but at least I can trust this low side, especially if it gets close to the EMA. Then prices continue moving up. Starts consolidating, hits this. There's no setup. It breaks through. So I'm looking for a potential reversal back above the EMA. And now it makes two full candles with a close below the EMA. So I'm not really sure it's going to come back to test this now. Goes back down, bounces. At the time, I don't have this red trend line drawn yet. So it's just bouncing out in the middle of nowhere. It kind of reverses up. So it's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but it's an inside bar, and I don't really like that. By the time it gets up to here, that's when I draw my red trend line support right here. I turned it into a channel, but I don't really trust it too much because at a higher tick chart, this looks like it's just really only one, maybe two touches, and it doesn't really have any touches over here. So it's hard to trust because there's a lot of empty space up here. But at least the low side you can kind of trust. Go ahead and normalize the chart. It's a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short when it breaks below here. Technically, you have a third entry short because if you took the lows here, first entry, but I just did a count reset because it looked like it was sideways. Safe to do a count reset here. First entry short, pull back, second entry short. This was a signal bar. Didn't really have good indication that this is going to go short yet. Break of this orange up channel. I'm expecting a test of the high. Does it here, pushes down. Too late to take a trade because it's running right into the EMA on a clearly bullish day. So it'd be counter trend. So I'm just sitting on my hands. Kind of reverses up and comes back down. And it creates this potential triple test. The bounce off the support, break of this orange up channel, made one attempt, made two attempts. Each attempt made a higher high. So it's coming back down. I saw a triple test, but I'm hesitant. I do like the signal bar. It is above the EMA, but it's making lower highs each time it pushes down. So that's giving me pause. I don't have this yellow channel drawn yet, so I don't have this to treat as a potential key entry point. So if you did take this trade on a reversal, I felt is a little risky, but it does work. Comes back down. Then I see this. I think this is actually a really much better setup because this is multiple tests. Clearly, there's a support here. Clearly, all these candles are closing above the EMA. EMA is sideways, but it's starting to curl up. There's a failed breakout on this side, or if you actually drew it higher, maybe there is no breakout. But at the time, I had it down here. Failed breakout. It's a strong reversal here. This itself, again, is only a five tick signal bar with a close at the high. So my stop would actually be below here, which is only two more ticks. So that's still within kind of like 8 to 9 tick risk. And I thought this is actually a decent setup to actually have taken. Pushes up, so this would have been good for that 1 point scalp. Remember the ATR up to this point and going forward has been pretty much struggling to get over 2. So to go for a 2 point profit target, I felt was risky, but this is certainly worth it for 1 point. This also probably would have been worth it for 1 point. Same thing here. And then, yeah, but back here, I didn't think about 1 point till I took this trade and I went from 1 point, I went from 2 points down to 1.5 points or 6 ticks. So here I saw this push up and go out. So I'm thinking, okay, today is just a 1 point scalp type of day. First entry long, pull back. You don't really have a second entry long, creates a new high, and this is just new highs. Just I think the ES hasn't been this high in a while. So this is just kind of creating and pressing new highs. So I am a little weary on any relief pullbacks. There's a first entry long, and again, it's just sideways. Makes a matching triple top, pushes down. First entry long, pullback. Here creates a second entry long, but this is your signal bar. This is your confirmed second entry long. New high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long. Terrible follow through, terrible trigger bar. Closes way below. Bears came in and pushed this back down. So I'm not thinking going long. Then it flushes up. And I was thinking, well, was there a trade here? Hard to say because I do have this red trend line as a support now. It is bouncing off. On this type of setup, I just didn't like the close. It is a break of the green, test the low, pushes up. If it closed at the high, I would have been more inclined to maybe take this trade. So I'm just watching. Now I'm looking for a higher low. You technically might have a higher low here. Well, actually, forgot to mention that there's a trade set up here. It's a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Again, this is might been worth a shot because there's a triple test here. Second entry short, really small, 4-tick signal bar. Definitely worth the risk. Moving back in from the range, so there's probably a decent setup here or decent risk to reward here. It is counter trend to the overall bullish bias that the day is going through. But for something like this, I thought this actually might have been a worthwhile setup. So forgot to mention that trade. And then this one was just an almost trade, nothing really worth mentioning here. Then pushes up, new high. It's a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long, but it's inside bar. By the time it gets to here, I drew this red up channel, bouncing, no real setup. You have a new high, it's a first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but I saw it more as like a visual count reset. It looks like it is one leg first entry, pullback, second entry, because this isn't really a higher low, so it's technically more of a third entry. Excuse me. But the way the day has been going, the EMA has been showing strength. It is bounced off this red up channel, so it could be. So in this case, it's first entry, second entry, third entry. But what caused me some pause was when I saw this, I'm thinking this could be two legs down, or it could still be within this big leg. So maybe there's a trade here. It's a little more aggressive. Again, though, this is only 7 ticks, 1.75 points. So it might have been worth a risk because your stop is very well defined. It's below here. You don't have to worry about any other little swing lows, and you're going with trend. So definitely, again, worth a 1-point scalp. In which case it would have worked. Then prices push up. New high, it's the first entry long. Again, it pushes up to new high, count resets. First entry long. You might have a second entry long here. Pushes up. So this actually would have been worth a quick 1 point. So I didn't mark this, but I should have. Second entry long. Yeah. Second entry long, decent setup. Actually, first entry long pullback, second entry long again. Only a 4-tick risk. Worth taking, but I didn't take it. Which presses down. So at this time of day, to be honest, I was kind of mentally fatigued and I was just thrilled that my two trades would have worked. So I did miss, some of these better setups. So I wasn't really pressing for any further trades. So just happy with my 2 wins. Then prices continue moving down. Breaks out of this yellow down channel, break on this side, first entry short, pullback, creates a second entry short, creates a lower high here. So this orange down channel has a break on this side, 1 attempt down, second attempt. This could be a lower high. Again, 7-tick risk or 7-tick signal bar, maybe worth a shot because it is 2 legs up and it could resume back to test the low of this, or it could make 2 big legs down. In this case, it would have worked for 1-point scalp. Then prices continue moving. Looks like it hit this bottom trading range consolidation area. Bounces, and now we're getting close to the last 30 minutes. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long, bad signal bar, nothing here. Looks like it was 2 legs up. Now it's flushing down. I was thinking there might be some kind of support here, but I didn't draw it into a trading range yet because the trading range high side doesn't really quite fit so clean. Eventually drew it up here after the fact, but here I'm looking for a potential bounce because clearly a bullish day. And it kind of bounces, it consolidates. Now I'm kind of checked out because I don't really like seeing this consolidation. Plus, it's the end of the day. I'm already up 2 points. I'm already up 2 trades. So I didn't really want to risk this. Prices move up. It's a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here. It's a bad signal bars, doji. You are hitting some kind of resistance, but this is only like 1 touch, 2 touch confirmation. If anything, I'd be looking for a lower high, ideally below the EMA. But you don't get that. It just kind of pushes back up, making new highs again. This is in the last 10 minutes. It does sell off in this wild fashion, and here it's still trading because it's still after hours. So overall, it was kind of there were quite a few potential trades today, especially if you're just taking 1-point scalps. 1-point scalps, and you might have gotten some runners, like on this guy, little short runner. And if you just stayed bullish or you just took long trades, it would have worked out pretty well. I mean, I admit there's a short trade possibility here and here, but this is early on, so you don't know necessarily that it's going to break out of this sideways consolidation. So this I thought was a safe trade to take, this failed second entry long lower high. But then after that, yes, I think you'd always want to be bullish bias. This one's a little riskier, but it was also a decent setup, mainly because the risk is so tiny and you already have your well-defined stop, which would be below, excuse me, which would be above this guy, which happened to be above these two guys, which had trouble before. So another decent trade here, even though it's counter trend, enough room to the lows. So there was definitely more trades today than it has been in the last, I guess, last few days. So I'm hoping for more days like this. Ideally, we get another kind of day like this tomorrow, where there just throws a few more setups at you than it has been lately. So hopefully that was helpful.